Hello, good morning. Welcome to today's class. Chrome. Okay. Yeah, hello, welcome to today's class. Today I'll be doing my analysis and you got to know how I do my analysis. So we'll be working on forest and crypto for today. Then my next class will do indices. So before I start my analysis, I'll point out a few things that you need to know before you could be able to follow my strategy. These are the few things you need to know before you could be able to follow my strategy. Um, One, support and resistance. Okay, minute swings, major swings, breakout and retest, breakout and retest. Then we have Fibonacci. So again, chart patterns. Okay, candle stick patterns. So these are the few things you need to know before you could be able to follow my strategy. So if you go to my past videos, if you haven't been able to capture what support and resistance, minute swings, breakout and retest, Fibonacci chart patterns, and candlestick patterns. So at the moment, so whenever I come into a chart, I focus on I start from my higher time frame so I could be able to capture what is happening on the lower time frame. So I don't just go into a chart and I start analyzing from the lower time frame. So most times you need to uh, be aware of what the market wants to do so you could be able to follow it correctly. So at the moment I'm on gold. So I'll go to gold on 1 day. So I'll picture what is happening on the 1 day time frame. Um, so this is gold on 1 day time frame. So I will need to know. Sorry, another thing I need to add here is a trend. So these are the things I look out to when I'm doing my analysis. So now I'll need to know the trend on gold on 1 day, so I will know if I'm planning to long or short. So let me know what I need to do. So for me to be able to determine my trend, so it's all done. Again, cycle. So this box is like a guide to the things I look out to when I'm doing my analysis. So now on 1 day time frame, I need to determine my trend on 1 day. Is it an uptrend or downtrend? So I'll know if I'm longing or shorting. So now, for me to know my trend on 1 day, I need to know my cycle. So I need to find out the last cycle and if this market is in uptrend or downtrend. So at the moment, mere looking at this will not give me the trend. So I need to figure out the cycle. So I will determine from the origin of the trend to know if, even if it's an uptrend, is it getting weak? Is it still strong? So these are the things I look out to. So now I'm looking for somewhere that will give me my cycle on 1 day time frame. So a clear cycle. So I'm starting from this area. That's the area I'm seeing my last cycle. So from this moment, now I will need to uh so this coin is in an uptrend at the moment. So I will need to draw my trend line. I need to draw my trend line. Now I draw my trend line with a parallel channel. So it must be a parallel channel for you to draw your trend line. So you take this parallel channel. So now you take this parallel channel. Maybe looking at this 1 day trend, because from, if you've been following my rules on cycle, this cycle started here, and this is where you start to draw your trend. So this is an uptrend from this point down to this area. So now you need to draw your trend. And before you draw your trend, your swings need to be very clear. Now, for you to check out the swing on this 1 day time frame, you need to take this to a lower time frame, because at this 1 day, the swings on this area are not clear. So I need to take this down to 4 hours, so I will be able to see a clear swing, so I could be able to draw my trend. Okay, this is my uptrend. So at the moment, starting from this place, that is the origin of okay. The question is, how do I choose my area? All right. Okay. I mentioned it, if a few things that you need to know when you start your analysis. So this is the few things that you need to know. And after that, I go to my higher time frame to find my cycle. So if you've not if you don't know how to figure out a cycle, you should check my last video. So I need to find my cycle. So, and this is my cycle on 1 day time frame. This is my cycle on 1 day time frame. You need to this is my cycle on 1 day time frame. Is a complete cycle. Then I pick out the origin of this trend, so I will know what this market is doing. So now, after picking out the origin of the trend, I need to draw my trend. But from the origin of this trend, the swings of the trend are not clear. So I need to go to lower time frame, so I could be able to draw the trend. So when you're drawing your trend with parallel line, now the rules to use this parallel line when drawing your trend. Okay, so I'll delete this at the moment. Delete this. So this is an uptrend. So because this is an uptrend, so you need to draw your trend. So when drawing your trend, don't make mistake of using this trend line. This, it's not going to give you anything if you're drawing your trend. It's basically not accurate. Your trend ought to be parallel. Your trend ought to be parallel. So don't make mistake of using trend line to draw your trend. You use your parallel channel. That will give you a perfect trend. So that's why I don't use trend line to draw. So when you're using this parallel line, you need to check the last swing uh, before the cycle gets completed. Those are the swings you consider when drawing uh, your with your parallel channel. Now, when drawing your parallel channel, you should make sure you get a touch from the support, 2 touches from the support and 2 touches from the resistance. These are swings in this area. So joining just these 2 swings, because if I need to join this, I'm already going in between these candlesticks. So you can just join this as you're getting just 2 touches on the uh, lower side. It's okay. Some trends are not perfect. Some trends are perfect, but some are not perfect. If you're trying to join all these things together, you're making a mistake, because when you get to these areas, if you're drawing this like this, if you're drawing this trend like this, you're leaving some candlesticks outside. Okay, how do I draw my cycle? Definitely how I draw my cycle. Again, I just pick out this swing resistance and this swing support, which my cycle starts here. And if my cycle starts here, it goes down to this support. It can go to this resistance. It must touch this or go beyond this. Then it comes to this support. It comes back to this area again, comes down here, it comes down here. So my cycle continues. In each of this cycle, these are trends. From here to here is a trend, 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 no matter how short the trends are. So these are trends. So that's how I determine my trend. So this is a downtrend, this is an uptrend. So that's what your cycle needs to that is the idea you get from your cycle. Now, if this price of gold comes down to this place, it means it's a downtrend. That is what it signifies. So as this price is still above the resistance of this cycle, it means this is in an uptrend. So I'm trying to if you've captured that, how to take your cycle, then we can now go to how to draw your trend. So the origin of this current trend is from here, the lowest price, this, because this is a completed trend already. So this is another trend. So because the swing of this trend is not visible on this 1 day time frame, so I need to go to 4 hours so I could be able to draw it. So going to 4 hours, and so I'm saying that you don't draw your trend like this, trying to fit in the whole trend inside this channel. You would actually miss out. So how would you draw your trend? Some trends are perfect, some are not perfect. So how do you draw your trend? Simply mark out the supports. Any supports you see at the beginning of the cycle, these are the swing supports from here. These are the two swing supports. So just picture this. So this is enough for you when you're drawing your trends. So there is a reason you draw your trend this way. It means that this market broke out of this trend from this point. So when this breakout happens, this market tends to trade in a continuous pattern. So when a breakout of trend happens, market starts trading in chart patterns. So you looking at a chart pattern. Now this trend is so long that a lot of chart patterns are forming as this trend is moving up. A lot of chart patterns are forming in the sense that in any retracement, you can trade this with Fibonacci. If you can trade this with Fibonacci, you can trade it with chart pattern in the sense that these are your swings. These are your swings. You can trade with Fib extension if that's if it's in an uptrend. Then you can trade chart pattern. So now, what is the pattern forming at this point? Now, any of these retracements forms a pattern if you'll be able to know your trend uptrend very well. So any of this retracement is forming a pattern. Any of this retracement is forming a pattern. So that is the rule of an uptrend. So you need to know the pattern that formed here, the one that formed here, the one that formed here, the one that formed at this place. So at any place there is a consolidation, there is always a pattern forming. But because this trend is so long, this 1 day trend is so long, so it might be quite difficult for me to start picking out the patterns one by one, because that is how I trade the patterns. If you want to continue trading this uptrend, how I trade the pattern, I just measure out the pattern that's forming at this retracement and I map out the targets. When the target is done, I wait for another consolidation. I map out the target. I wait for another consolidation. I map out the target. So currently, this market is still in an uptrend and it's not weak yet. The market is still continuous uptrend. So definitely at this last point, you could see that there is a pattern forming at this place. So there is a pattern forming at this place. So that is the last point this market is on. There is a pattern forming at this place. So that's what I'm interested in, because any retracement in an uptrend is actually forming a pattern. So at this point, what kind of pattern is forming here? How do you determine your pattern? When you trade your chart patterns very well, there are continuation patterns, there are reversal patterns also. Now, for you to be able to know your patterns, what pattern is forming, this looks like a pennant. It looks like a pennant, looks like a continuation pattern. But again, patterns are sometimes confusing, because when this pattern was forming, so now this is how it's forming, like or just this any, because this is a swing. This is the first swing of the pattern down to this. So right at the moment, this swing came down here. The time it touched the resistance to this place, the support. So at the moment, you're having two touches on your pattern. Even if you try to take this to this area, it's actually quite okay. Let me do it this way. So this is a pattern forming. So this is the first swing of the pattern. This is the second swing of the pattern. This is the third swing of the pattern. And at the upper side, the pattern ought to be completed from this point at the moment. So this is the third swing. A pattern most times has three swing, in the sense that if this is a perfect pennant, if this is a perfect pennant, this is how it should be. A perfect pennant starts this way. If this is a continuation pennant, this is how it starts. So that's how a perfect pennant starts. So now, at this point now, you could see this pennant is actually like this. So although in pennant can either go both ways. If you read your continuation patterns, pennants are continuation. They can go either ways, either breaking up or breaking down. So this pattern started from here to this place, to this place. It went outside. So it means that the third leg is actually going to be like a breakout of this support. So this pattern is actually going to break down the support instead of breaking the resistance. Okay, trying to follow higher highs and higher lows. There is one thing in trend. When you look at this trend, the swings of this trend differs. The swings of a trend differs. So trying to follow your higher highs and lower highs will actually bring a confusion for you when you're trading a trend. It's actually going to be confusing when you're trading a trend. So that's why you have to follow either you use your fib or you follow your pattern, your chart patterns when you're trading your trend. It would have been easier if this trend is short. When a trend is so long, but this is an uptrend, you only need to find your perfect entry for long. So trying to follow the head higher highs and higher lows, when you notice, just like in some areas, like this area, this is a higher high, this a higher low, and this is like a breakout of a structure, and it's supposed to like market reverse, but markets continue going up. So those are the cases that you don't just follow just your higher highs and higher lows. So when making out your trend, if cycle could also give a diagonal pattern instead of flat. Okay, now the essence of your cycle is for you to determine your trend. That's the essence of your cycle. Well, since this trend is so long, I need to use a shorter trend that we actually make it easier for you to understand. So on gold, this market is still in an uptrend, and it's still strong. There is no sign of reversal in this trend. There is no sign of reversal. You see, the higher highs are still meeting up with the higher highs. So and on these 4 hours, let me figure out another trend that will actually be easier, because I need a shorter trend that would make this easier. This 15 minutes. Let me go down to 15 minutes, so I would be able to explain these chart patterns. And so let me pick a cycle from this. Okay. Okay, right. So this is my cycle on 15 minutes time frame. So on the last price, this is the price of the market. So you see that this market is still in an uptrend, given that this cycle have not touched the support. So you draw your trend. See the same thing you do on the higher time frame, you do on the lower time frame. So you draw your trend from here. So this is your trend. So what forms outside this trend is more like a pattern forming outside of this trend. A pattern forming outside of this trend. So that is what it's more like. How would you draw your pattern? You draw your pattern from the breakout of a trend, the candlestick that broke out of the trend. That's why you need to use this parallel channel. So you determine the breakout of the trend. The breakout of the trend is this candlestick. When you draw your parallel channel, it must be parallel, and you start drawing your parallel your trend with the swings before the cycle is completed. So because this trend is up, you don't try to accommodate all these things here. No, just draw the swing support and the swing resistance before the cycle got completed. Like I say, some trends are perfect, some are not perfect. So the breakout of the trend, a chart pattern start forming. Now, this is a breakout of your trend. So you start from the after the candlestick that broke out of the trend to draw your chart pattern. So at the moment, this is what I'm having. This is what I'm having. So this is a pattern that formed after your trend. So you need to know, is this a reversal pattern or continuation pattern? But this looks like a wedge. Sometimes wedge can be continuation or reversal pattern. So it's not just only a continuation pattern. Just you can Google your chart patterns. You can Google your chart patterns, and you okay. So there are reversal patterns, there are continuation patterns. So look at these are reversal patterns. These are continuation patterns. So a wedge can be continuation or reversal. Look, these are patterns that can continue either up or down. So in this case, most times, how do you know your breakout of a pattern? A pattern breakout, aside double top and double bottom, they are the two chart patterns that use two swings to form. Other chart patterns use three swings to form. Aside double top and double bottom, those are the pattern that use two swings to form. So if the pattern is not using double top or double bottom, then it's likely to use three swings. You just join your swings after the breakout to know the pattern forming. So you can use your paths. This is the origin of this pattern.